Please rise for the pledge.
Flags in the back here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome. James, do you want to take attendance, please?
Certainly. President Schaefer,
Here.
Vice President Dr. Reese,
Present.
Secretary Summers here, Treasury Hanser,
Present.
and Trustee McDonough,
Here.
Trustee Schultz,
Here.
Trustee Whitney.
Thank you. We're going to move into the election of officers. I'd like to make a motion. Move to appoint Dr. Erin Reese as temporary chairperson of the Axford Board of Education. Can I have support on that, please? Amanda? Roll call vote. Mike Whitney? Absent. Colleen Schultz?
Yes.
Amanda McDonough? Yes. James Summers?
Yes.
Mary Hanser?
Yes.
Erin Reese?
Yes.
Heather Schaefer? Yes.
Great. All right. Thank you. And as the role of the temporary chairperson, I just want to provide a brief refresher on our bylaw 0152 for the process. Each officer position, we will start with a roll call nomination for the candidate to see for each of the positions. The roll call nominations are important should there be a tie in how we do runoff motions and vote should there be a tie amongst all the nominations. After nominations are made, we'll make a motion for the candidate with the most nominations. Board nominators are welcome to make comment after the motion is made for discussion. And once the president is done, I will step down as the acting chairperson and hand over the remaining roll call nominations to the president per Board Education Bylaw 0151. So for the role of president, going for a nomination roll call vote, we will start with Mike Whitney, who is absent. Colleen Schultz. Nomination.
Oh, who would I like to nominate?
Yep.
I would like to nominate Erin Reese.
Amanda McDonough.
I would also like to nominate Erin Reese.
James Summers.
Nomination for Erin Reese.
Mary Hanser.
Dr. Erin Reese.
Erin Reese. I'll nominate myself. Heather Schaefer.
I'd like to nominate Erin Reese.
All right. Anyone would like to have a motion?
I can make a motion.
James?
I move that Dr. Erin Reese be nominated for the position of president for the 2024 calendar year.
It would be, sorry, it wouldn't be nominated, it would be, the motion would be for the vote. Right?
Yep.
Yep.
So,
Just say, reread it with a vote, James.
Okay, sorry. Move that Dr. Erin Reese be nominated for the vote for the position of president for the 2024 calendar.
Support? Any discussion?
That was me.
Sorry. No discussion? I'll start with the roll call vote. Mike Whitney, absent. Colleen Schultz,
yes.
Amanda McDonough,
Yes.
James Summers,
Yes.
Mary Hanser,
Yes.
Erin Reese, yes. Heather Schaefer.
Yes.
All right. We will move in now to the role of the vice president. And thank you, by the way, I do accept the nomination. Good. All right, so we will start, same thing, a roll call nomination for the role of vice president. Mike Whitney, Colleen Schultz,
Amanda McDonough.
I'd like to nominate myself.
James Summers,
I'll nominate myself.
Mary Hanser,
James Summers.
Heather Schaefer,
James Summers.
Erin Reese, Amanda McDonough. All right, so in the vote of, and for the vote, what we will do is move to have a nomination for the vote after the motion is made. What we will do is then have the discussion, and then we will do the roll call vote again. Does everybody understand? Okay. So Colleen, would you like to do the motion since you started?
Sure.
Move that Amanda McDonough be nominated for the position of Vice President for the 2024 calendar year.
I'll support. And then discussion. Colleen?
I think Amanda has proven she does copious amounts of research. I think she'd be a great Vice President to Aaron's President.
All right. Heather or Mary? I would, unless you want to tell why you visited the position, I guess we could go around. I do think it's important that we have a discussion with a tie.
So I was in support of Mr. Summers, as I know he has background working with the public, working in a leadership role. And I think he would be a good fit as the vice president for the board.
Amanda or James? No, sorry.
I'll just say, I think we're both highly qualified for the role. We both do lots of different things to the community. There's lots of stuff that we've done beforehand. So I guess I'm kind of neutral on it. I think we both would be well fit for it.
Good. I'll make the comment that I also nominated Amanda for the reasons that her and I do work really well together. James and I also work very well together. So to be honest, they're both excellent candidates, and it's a very tough decision. The rule is we have to have the majority of the entire board, so even though that Mike is absent, there needs to be 4 votes in order to move past this one. So, Heather, did you want to make any comments?
I think that they would both actually be qualified too. I think James having, a little bit more probably experience with the school situation, with his kids being in the school. But I think that both are qualified, and Amanda she is a heck of a researcher, I'll give her that. So I think either one of you would be an asset.
Great. So what we'll do now is we'll move into the roll call vote. This one is for Amanda, and we'll see if any opinions have changed since then. We'll start with Mike Whitney, who is absent. Colleen Schultz,
Yes.
Amanda McDonough,
Yes.
James Summers,
Yes.
Mary Hanser,
Yes.
Heather Schaefer,
Yes.
Aaron Reese, yes. Motion carries. Welcome, Amanda. All right, the next position on the roster is for secretary. Nominations will begin again. Mike Whitney, absent. Colleen Schultz,
Move that James Summers be nominated for the position of Secretary for the 2024 calendar year.
Amanda McDonough,
I would like to nominate Mike Whitney.
Mary Hanser,
James Summers.
Heather Schaefer,
James Summers.
Aaron Reese, James Summers. All right, would someone like to make the motion for James as secretary with the most amount of votes or nominations? Heather?
Move that James Summers be voted in for the position of secretary for the 2024 calendar year.
And a support? Amanda? Roll call vote, Mike Whitney, Colleen Schultz,
Yes.
Amanda McDonough,
Yes.
James Summers,
Yes.
Mary Hanser,
Yes.
Heather Schaefer,
Yes.
Aaron Reese? Yes. Oh, now I can start putting people in order. All right. The last position is for that of treasurer. Nominations will be done for roll call vote, so we'll start with Mike Whitney again. He's absent. Colleen Schultz,
Move that Mary Hanser be nominated for the position of treasurer for the 2024 calendar year.
Amanda McDonough,
Mary Hanser?
James Summers,
Mary Hanser.
Heather Schaefer,
Mary Hanser.
Aaron Reese, Mary Hanser. Someone like to make the motion? Heather?
Move that Mary Hanser be voted in for the position of treasurer for the 2024 calendar year.
Support? Colleen?
Support.
Roll call vote, Mike Whitney. Colleen Schultz.
Yes.
Amanda McDonough.
Yes.
James Summers.
Yes.
Mary Hanser.
Yes.
Heather Schaefer.
Yes.
Aaron Reese. Yes. All right, the last position is our board parliamentarian position. If you recall, this is the position that helps us keep up with Robert's Rules of Order. Again, we will go down for nominations. Start with Mike Whitney, Colleen Schultz,
Move that Mary Hanser be nominated for the position of board parliamentarian for the 2024 calendar year.
Amanda McDonough,
Mary Hanser.
James Summers,
Mary Hanser?
Mary Hanser,
Mary Hanser.
Heather Schaefer,
Mary Hanser.
Aaron Reese, Mary Hanser. Would someone like to make the formal motion? Heather?
Move that Mary Hanser be voted in for the position of board parliamentarian for the 2024 calendar year.
Support? Colleen?
Support?
And then a roll call vote one last time. Mike Whitney? Colleen Schultz?
Yes.
Amanda McDonough?
Yes.
James Summers?
Yes.
Mary Hanser?
Yes.
Heather Schaefer?
Yes.
Aaron Reese, yes. All right. Number 3 on the agenda are for bank deposits and signatories for bank accounts. So we just need a motion. This would be for inclusive of Mary and Dr. Markovich for the general fund signatures. Amanda?
I move that all general fund and debt retirement checks for the 2024 calendar year be listed and approved by the board. They will be signed by using the signature plate engraved with the names Vicki L. Markovich and Mary Hanser.
And then a support?
Support?
Colleen? Again, we'll do a roll call vote. Mike Whitney? Colleen Schultz?
Yes.
Amanda McDonough?
Yes.
James Summers?
Yes.
Mary Hanser?
Yes.
Heather Schaefer?
Yes.
Aaron Reese, yes. All right, the next is for payroll, internal accounting, and school lunch checks. Need a motion.
Again, Mary?
Colleen?
Move that all payroll, internal accounting, and school lunch checks be signed for the 2024 calendar year by using the plate engraved with the names Vicki L. Markovich and Mary Hanser.
Support? James? Roll call vote once again. Mike Whitney? Colleen Schultz?
Yes.
Amanda McDonough?
Yes.
James Summers?
Yes.
Mary Hanser?
Yes.
Heather Schaefer?
Yes.
Aaron Reese, yes. Last motion on is for the president to be allowed to sign checks in place of the board treasurer. Mary?
Move that the board president will be allowed to sign checks in place of the board treasurer only when and if needed.
Support. Amanda? Any discussion? Roll call vote. Mike Whitney? Colleen Schultz?
Yes.
Amanda McDonough?
Yes.
James Summers?
Yes.
Mary Hanser?
Yes.
Heather Schaefer?
Yes.
Aaron Reese? Yes. Motion carries. All right, item number 4 on the agenda are the board committees. We currently, per our policy, the board president can appoint members to the committees. We currently have people serving on different committees, but I also wanted to bring up discussion around another committee that we had discussed last year, but we had not instituted, and I think this is the year to do it. Currently, the board committees exist of the policy committee and the finance committee. Those are our formal board committees. The other committee that we discussed last year but had not instituted was the board governance committee. So there are a couple recommendations on how we do that. We could combine it with one of the policy committees, since most board governance is done out of policy, or we created a separate group altogether. I think either way, the board could get the work done, but I do think the board governance committee would have a lot of work that needs to be completed over the next 12 months, in addition to the policy committee always having a lot of work over the next 12 months as well too, from due. So I guess I'll take general thoughts on that first, and if you would like more information, I'll keep going.
Can you tell me who's on policy right now?
Current policy policy committee members are Mary, Amanda, and James. Current finance committee meeting members are myself and Mary.
Well, I guess my question would be to all of you on those policy, or those committees, would you like to serve again, or would you like to step down?
So my thoughts are, I definitely want to stay on policy committee if that is the president. I enjoy the work and I enjoy being on the committee. As far as the governance committee, I'd like to hear the rest of your thoughts on that because that is also something that I personally want to be on. I don't know whether James and Mary have those feelings, and I also want to give other board members opportunities to join should they want to, because that committee specifically will have a lot of work to do over this year and will be very time intensive and research intensive. So if anybody thinks that they would be a good fit for that and would like to do it, I think that we should open it to that as well.
Yep. Is there any other questions right now? And I'll answer hers about governance committee and my thoughts on it at this point.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for, is more thoughts around what that all would entail. I mean, I'm not looking, maybe high level, if you would.
Yeah, so the 30,
Level definition.
the 30,000 foot view would be to create board operating procedures. They would work with the entire board, but they would do the work behind putting that work together. That would include orientation for new board members. We do know we will have new board members starting January 2025, and we want to make sure they get put onto the right speed and brought up to speed as quickly as possible. So those would be, I think, the two main areas of focus in the first 12 months. What the committee then takes that information and decides and does with it, I think could be a recommendation on how it continues to flourish and grow as we execute some of those things.
Do you see it being ongoing, or do you see it maybe being an ad hoc committee?
I think the committee could tell us that, to be honest. I do think
Ready to
it,
get going?
yeah. And because I think when you would see it the most is definitely pre-election cycles, so that way we review the content. As a whole board, we could review the operating procedures and stuff like that, but annually together. But I do think we'd probably keep it as an ongoing committee, especially knowing that we're gonna have new board members next year.
I think it would probably end up being ongoing as well. I think we'll have a lot of work to do with Dr. Markovich in the beginning and set that groundwork for the next superintendent and how the board operates and how we become more effective and all of the things surrounding policy and the way that we ourselves move forward. So personally, I would see it as a long-term committee, continuously reviewing best practices and improving the board as a whole, but that's just my opinion.
There are a lot of boards that have it as well. It's not an uncommon board committee to have amongst policy and finance, so. I think honestly, at this point, it should be separate, just because I do think the work of the policy committee is a lot right now, and I would hate for them to be distracted.
I do think they are very closely connected. And I think we're also talking about a couple of different things longer term when you're talking about operating procedures and how they relate to the policies, and we want to be sure that those things are matching up. And as well as we were talking about board development. And I think that's connected to that, but that's also different. Board development is a whole different area. So just something else to think about down the line. I'm still interested in staying on the policy committee, but I don't want to stand in somebody else's way, very much like Amanda. If somebody else wants to do that work, I don't want to take that from them. But I think we've been doing well working together too. We've had some good discussions, and I think that's been great, but I don't want to stand in anybody else's way, but I'm happy to serve. With the connecting the two, I guess it's going to depend on who's interested too. We have a lot of things going on.
Well,
So-
and maybe it's a board governance and development
committee, you know, maybe
Yeah.
it's a little bit of both.
Well, and I think that, and maybe the board development will get more, we would get more into that in the future as opposed to over the next 12 months. This is really going to build some framework to working on things like operating procedures and whatnot. But I'm just seeing them as closely related to the policies.
Okay. Would anybody be interested in serving on that committee? Aside Amanda, I know she said she would.
I'd be interested.
Okay. Anyone else? Because we can have up to 3. Okay.
You're talking on the government?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking, thinking ahead of what we have in front of us for policies in the next 6 months alone. While the governance, I think, is interesting, I think I'll not. I don't want to overtake too much with that. I mean, it's definitely interesting. I appreciate you explaining a little bit more about it and stuff, but I just know, like, in our last policy meeting, we just hit the surface on stuff that we had to do from a legal stuff, and we'll be talking about that later tonight. And then when the laws change, we have to go back through and change it all again, and that's not even bring us up to current of what's out there that we need to catch up on from, you know, COVID and other things that have delayed us, so. I guess that's my only concern. I know you like doing policy stuff. I think you'd be great in the governance thing. But again, I don't know what free time you have and stuff and what you want to do. I know me personally that I'll stick with policy and not.
Okay.
I'm interested in serving on the governance committee unless Mike would want to step up and do that. I have worked with other policies from other districts, and so I already have some background in working with other school districts and different things that they've already done. So there's a lot of things that we can take from to build as we go. So, and if Mike or somebody else wants to serve on that, I'm still willing to, I'll share with everybody what I've learned from some of the other districts too.
Okay.
So as far as finance committee, are you both still interested in staying on that?
I think the treasurer should stay on that, and I do believe the president at this point should stay on that due to whether it was me or anybody else, due to the fact that there are a lot of budget decisions that have to be made over the next 12 to 18 months. So, all right. So I'm going to go through this and make motions to appoint people. Then we'll do a roll call vote to see if you guys all agree with me. If we don't have a total consensus of a majority of the board, then we'll continue the discussion. What I want is for our committees to be effective, and I would like them to, work well. So we will start with the policy committee. So I will move to appoint James, Amanda, and Mary onto the Board of Education Policy Committee. Do I have support? Colleen, any other discussion? All right, roll call vote. Mike Whitney, Colleen Schultz,
Yes.
Amanda McDonough,
Yes.
James Summers,
Yes.
Mary Hanser,
Yes.
Heather Schaefer.
Yes.
Aaron Reese, yes. I will move to appoint Aaron Reese and Mary Hanser to the Board of Education Finance Committee. Support? Amanda? Any discussion? Roll call vote, Mike Whitney, Colleen Schultz,
Yes.
Amanda McDonough,
Yes.
James Summers,
Yes.
Mary Hanser,
Yes.
Heather Schaefer.
Yes.
Aaron Reese. Yes. I will move to appoint Amanda, Heather, and Mike will see if he says no when he gets back. We'll come back to that. To the Board Governance and Development Committee. Do I have a support? Amanda? Roll call vote. Mike Whitney, Colleen Schultz,
Yes.
Amanda McDonough,
Yes.
James Summers,
Yes.
Mary Hanser,
Yes.
Heather Schaefer,
Yes.
Aaron Reese. Good. Those are the formal board committees. The next committee in our agenda is the District Safety Committee. This committee is the district level, it's not a board meeting. We have representatives that sit on that are elected officials. Currently, it is James, Mike, and Heather. I did hear from Mike, he would like to remain on that committee. That is the one thing I did hear from him. James?
And I would like to stay on that, if it's the will.
Heather?
I would too. I didn't go to the last couple meetings because I was doing presidential stuff, but I would like to get back on.
Anybody else? Before I appoint people. All right, I will move to appoint James Summers, Mike Whitney, and Heather Schaefer to the District Safety Committee. Do I have support? Mary Hanser. Any discussion? Roll call vote, Mike Whitney.
Hold on, I want to discuss one thing.
Oh, sorry.
Just for clarification, for maybe other people that don't know, like being there, like people this past year, we sat and we listened, and that's when the government officials come together, and it's just so we can bring back anything that's brought from there back to the board for discussion, or to have somebody have like subject matter expert that sits inside of those meetings. So just for clarification for anybody that didn't know exactly what that is. Very similar to other committees and stuff, but I thought that was important to call out, that there's no decisions made there around the security or safety stuff with us on there. Okay, sorry.
Roll
Thank you
call.
for that.
Roll call vote is Mike Whitney, Colleen Schultz,
Yes.
Amanda McDonough,
Yes.
James Summers,
Yes.
Mary Hanser,
Yes.
Heather Schaefer,
Yes.
Erin Reese, yes. There was one other committee, it was an ad hoc committee that we had started last year. It was the Superintendent and Search Committee. That was comprised of Colleen, Amanda, and Mike last year, last calendar year, just a few weeks ago. I would like to open it up and see if we need to continue that committee now that we're doing full board discussions at this point going forward. The purpose of the committee was just to kind of vet the RFPs that came through from the different vendors. I'm not sure that there would be a subcommittee for any of the other activities that are happening over the next 3 or 4 months, but I'm open to help understand that more.
I don't think that there is a necessity for us to continue. I think we'll be fine as a board, you as the president, doing most of the work. I guess at some point, if we feel like we need to reconvene, we could.
All right, then we'll suspend it for now since we're fully involved all the way across with that. All right, the last two committees are both Oakland Schools, OCSBA, and Oakland Schools committees. The first one is for the Oakland Schools Budget Review Committee. Typically in the past, we've had the treasurer sit on this committee and they can bring back the budget details for Oakland County Schools ISD when it comes to us. So I will move to appoint Mary Hanser to the Oakland Schools Budget Review Committee, and if I have a support,
I'll support.
James, any discussion? Obviously, everybody knows that they're welcome to attend, right? Just because she's nominated does not mean that the rest of us cannot attend those meetings. Okay.
To have just a quick point for discussion. Just to let everybody know that on the Oakland Schools Budget Review is an informational meeting where there are people available from Oakland Schools to explain budget items. They are not required to have the districts approve that budget, but they do want to be sure that they are available for those questions, and they want the support of the districts. And if they're looking for anything, if the districts aren't supporting them, they are interested in knowing why, because they are here. That Oakland Schools is here to serve the districts. That's the only reason that they exist. So just to let you know, it's not any kind of binding voting going on behalf of Oakland. We do talk about it here. We get the budget, we approve it, and when I go there, I do vote again, but it's not anything that is binding. It's a supported measure.
Any other questions or comments? All right, roll call vote. Mike Whitney, Colleen Schultz,
Yes.
Amanda McDonough,
Yes.
James Summers,
Yes.
Mary Hanser,
Yes.
Heather Schaefer,
Yes.
Erin Reese, yes. The other is the OCSBA Government Relations Committee. Currently, it is Mary and myself that serve on that committee and do some of the government relations work that occurs. Before I appoint anyone, I just want to make sure I'm still interested in maintaining that committee membership, but happy to give it up if anybody else was interested in participating.
I think you guys do a great job. You're super involved and you're the work I've seen you do in Lansing and in Washington DC, especially on behalf of Oxford. So if you're willing to serve, I'm happy about that.
All right. I will move to appoint Erin Reese and Mary Hanser to the OCSBA Government Relations Committee. Do I have a support? James? Any other discussion? Roll call vote, Mike Whitney? Colleen Schultz?
Yes.
Amanda McDonough?
Yes.
James Summers?
Yes.
Mary Hanser?
Yes.
Heather Schaefer?
Yes.
Erin Reese? Yes. All right. Moving through the agenda item, number 5, changes to the board agenda. I have none. I do have a comment in a later agenda item, but it's not a change. So, all right, school presentations, number 6. Lynn.
Hi, good evening. I'm Kristen Gwynn, principal here at Lakeville. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell you a little bit about Lakeville and what we've been up to this school year. It's been a lot. We are hyper-focused on student growth, and that means socially, emotionally, academically, clearly academically, and also behaviorally. And I'm going to jump right into the presentation. Erin? Erin, the buttons aren't working.
She's not referring to me.
No, my favorite technology specialist, Erin. She's amazing.
Just in case you're wondering why I wasn't here.
It's not working. Great, thank you. So recently we have revised our mission statement here at Lakeville to align with our PAWS acronym. This makes it a whole lot easier for our students to absorb, to understand, and to navigate. So our PAWS acronym stands for, we've incorporated like IB language along with some of the values we believe in here at Lakeville. P stands for principled, A, amazing attitudes, W, we care, and S, we stay safe, we work to stay safe. You'll see our acronyms, our signage posted all around our school, and we refer to this frequently on a daily basis throughout the day. Here is a picture of PAWS, our beloved mascot, and another picture of our students tracking the PAWS tickets that they earn on a daily basis. So throughout each school day, our students have the opportunity to earn PAWS tickets, which you'll see a sample on the tables up front, based on their behavior. We use a 5-to-1 positive ratio where we try to reward, acknowledge positive behavior for every one correction that we have to remind a student of. Students track their PAWS tickets on our school tracker, and once we fill up a ticket tracker, which we have a couple in the hallway you'll see, we do all school incentives, rewards. We also give weekly prizes away, as well as monthly celebrations and assemblies. Our next slide is a picture of the different PAWS tickets that student earns. We started the school year earning the yellow PAWS tickets, and then in November, we decided that the students were telling us that they needed a little bit more variation, so we added the different colors. Students receive a yellow PAWS ticket for classroom behaviors, a blue PAWS ticket for behaviors acknowledged by a guest teacher, a substitute teacher. The rainbow ones are very popular, and all of our specialist teachers give those out. And our green tickets are earned in the lunchroom, the cafeteria, at good behavior on the playground. What we found last year were parents' feedback were telling us that every time a student earned a PAWS ticket, they were putting them up on their refrigerator. And so kids were tracking, I have 11, I have 15, I have 17. So we actually upped and the ante and made them more creative. They're nice business cards, and the kids will walk around with a deck full of cards showing how many they've earned. So it's been really good this year, and it's teachers have really bought into the system, and we're seeing a lot of positive benefits. Some of the other things that we're doing here at Lakeville, we do have a very strong PBIS leadership team, which I'm extremely proud of, and it's not really facilitated by me. You know you have a good team when it's organic, right? The teachers are directing it, they're coming up with the incentives, they're coming up with the ideas, and they just take it and they run. We do have our behavior matrix. We have a trifold that I shared with you on the desk there. We have completed staff and student climate and culture surveys based around our PBIS program, and recently in November, our students, 98.7% of our students say they love coming to school here at Lakeville, so that speaks volumes. We do PBI lessons at the start of every school year. We do January resets. We have staff and student-made videos, again, a product of our strong PBIS leadership team, and also, like I said, my favorite technology specialist, Erin. At the very end of this presentation, I'll show you a little video, just 50 seconds of a video that we put together earlier this year. We do have weekly pause drawings and monthly drawings here in the cafeteria that are all school. Again, we're talking about being hyper-focused on student growth. Our goal is to improve our outcomes in literacy and math, as well as all curriculum areas. I can guarantee that we are laser focused on our Tier 1 instruction. I can guarantee, that's a big strong word, I can guarantee to you, school board, that we are teaching board adopted curriculum in every classroom with fidelity and with rigor. So it doesn't matter what what teacher a child has, students are receiving the same instruction, and what's happening is that's paying off year after year after year. Fourth grade teachers know our third grade teachers have taught this content. And so we know that our fourth graders are coming to us with a strong foundation. What we're finding is that students that stay with us here at Lakeville are growing. They're showing great growth. We have a lot of students that come to us here at Lakeville for whatever reason, have high need. We are the only Title I school in the district. That affords us a lot of intervention programs, a lot of extra support staff, and we're using it. And our data, again, is showing that our 5th grade students who have started with us in kindergarten, 1st grade, are showing tremendous growth. Very, very proud of that. Very, very proud of the work our teachers and support staff are doing. To give you an update on district's campaign of You Matter, these are some of the things that we're doing here. We are very dedicated to our students and, making Lakeville fun, helping them want to come to school. For a lot of our students, for many of our students, Lakeville is the best thing they have in their lives, and they want to come to school. They're sad when we have breaks. They're engaged. They have fun here. For our families, we are engaging them through our newsletters. We have a very active PTO. And we are increasing our volunteer opportunities with field trips, classroom parties, popcorn Fridays, big thing here. And other volunteer opportunities such as, in December, we just had our Santa shop. It was week-long, parents were in, it was a lot of shopping and fun for our kids. For our staff, we do regular check-ins. I've said it since I've been here at Lakeville. Lakeville's family. We all do what needs to be done. On a daily basis. If something's going on, we jump in and we support each other. We're family. There's no other way to say it. We do what needs to be done here at Lakeville, and I'm so proud of that. I always get emotional with that, I apologize. As a matter of fact, like today, with the big victory yesterday for University of Michigan, we do a lot of Sparties in the house, I will say. Ms. Schultz, I know I think you're a Sparty fan, right? Sorry to call you out. But we do a lot of staff spirit stuff. Today was Blue and Gold Day. And even our Sparty staff participated by wearing Oxford Blue and Gold. So we try to make it fun, right? People want to come to work, want to come to school here at Lakeville. Some of our points of pride. I have to say that Buddy has been a true gift. But you'll see 2 pictures of Buddy. He supports not only students, but staff. Down below, you'll see a picture of Samson. He comes in and reads with our DK through 2nd grade students on a weekly basis on Wednesday. In the middle there, you'll see a picture of our favorite veteran, Bob. He helps out at Lakeville a lot. He gives us extra goodies, and sometimes he'll buy, on the playground, a student might fall in a puddle, and so we need extra clothing, and Bob's always right there to fill our drawers. And so for Veterans Day, we did a special assembly for him. That was very moving. Walk to school events. In the middle there, on the right-hand side, you'll see our newest Wildcat member. The owners of Caveman and Pit donated Lucky, our Wildcat, who sits now in our courtyard. And up in the upper right-hand corner, that's a picture of our Wildcat Dash. Now, lastly, I'm just going to show you like the 50 seconds. This was a staff. Oh, it's going to help me out again. This was a staff initiated. So this was a staff initiated video that we put together. Carrie Klimowitz, one of our math intervention teachers, came across the idea. She did all the videotaping. Stephanie McConey, our music teacher, finagled all the words, and Aaron, my favorite specialist, he put it all together. So I'm just going to show you the first 50 seconds of it, because it's just fun, right? Our kids love stuff like this.
Potential, our goals unforgettable. Recess at lunch and class and always at Lakeville, you know that all day. We do our very best, our
Fourth grade teachers.
sensational. 'Cause we're a safe school, learning every day school. Principal let me play school, time with what we say school. We're the best kind, meeting up our
Third grade
best
teachers.
time. Always don't prepare tight, showing that we care tight. Yeah, we're awesome.
And that's Mrs. McConey, the voice and the lyrics behind this. And so I only showed you the first 50 seconds or so because I'm camera shy and I'm in the end of it, and so that's why I didn't show you the rest. No, but thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity to highlight Lakeville, and I appreciate you and all that you do for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Were there any questions or comments from the board?
I just have one comment or question. Kristen, can you send us that whole video?
Sure.
Okay.
I will. But you know I'm camera shy, so Jess, I will send you. I'd be happy to share that with you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Mrs. Gwen, thank
Yes.
you so much for having us here. Thank you for having us here in your home and hosting us, and I really appreciate that. I know we all really appreciate being here, and I love the vibe in this building, and I appreciate your leadership here in it. And please don't ever apologize for being emotional about your home. That's why that's why you're here. And we appreciate all that you do for the students. It's great to hear about growth. I would love to hear some more about that too, and what you're doing. So thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. I've been in several different school districts, well, a few, 3 or so. And when I landed here 6 years ago, like I knew I was home. Lakeville is a very special place, and I'm honored. I'm privileged and honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and I still have my tab from last year. So thank you.
All right, moving down the agenda, we have scheduled public comment for agenda items only. I know I saw one, there's no others, right, Andrew?
We have two.
There's two, I have them.
I have them here. There's
got
Marissa
them.
Prince. Oh, you got them? Okay.
All right, we'll start with Marissa Prince.
Good evening. I'm here to talk about the Human Resources update that lists Mrs. Laura Azzoni, our recovery coordinator, as having resigned. So I think this is a big deal. So initially the district created a 3-year plan to get our students who were present at the shooting graduated and out. It's my opinion that we are still, as a district, experiencing the aftermath of the shooting. And it's my opinion that the recovery plan and the existence of a coordinator must extend far past the graduation of Hannah's class. So I'd like to start just by thanking Mrs. Azzoni. She helped myself, she helped people I care about, during a time when people were really hurting and really fragile. And I really appreciate her willingness to come here. And I wish I knew she was having a hard time, because I would have tried to help her. And I hope the board looks into this. So I feel we need to replace her with someone.
Yes.
I know that the grant is expiring from the Department of Justice that paid her salary, but I think that grant needs to be extended. And if the district's unable to properly advocate and apply for that funding, I'd like you to please allow the parents to take over that process. So I know that Oxford Township, when they're trying to get funding for like playground equipment, they'll ask people to write letters and things. So can we do that? Can we reach out through our government committee and tell them we're not done recovering yet? And we need someone for longer? So our younger grades, 8 and below, they may not have been at the high school, but they were still profoundly impacted. They were psychologically distressed, and what happened here is outside the range of a usual experience for a child, anything that I went through. And we can sort of predict what might happen with some of them based on data because of what happened. So if we can predict it, we can help prevent it. And I'll just leave you with one bit of information that's very personal, but my youngest daughter, her babysitter was killed, obviously. Hannah was murdered. And I found a list in my daughter's room when she was 7 of all of the things she considers to be her prized possessions. And it had names written next to all of them. And I asked her, what is this? And she had essentially written a will, okay? And she said, if I die at school, this is who I want to have these things. And a lot of them she left to me, some to her sisters, some to her friends. But we are taking care of supporting her when she's not at school. But throughout her next 9 years in Oxford, I am asking that we have a specialized expert on staff predicting and meeting the needs of our student population, at least until she's out in 9 years. And if you can't get the funding for it, let us try to get the funding for it. I'll write letters. I just sent a stack this high to all of our politicians for money and help. Thank you.
Thanks, Martha. All right, the second pre-scheduled agenda topic, Mark.
All right, so we're talking about the superintendent that we're searching for. I had 4 things. Number 1, the new superintendent must be trauma-informed, considering our entire community is dealing with the trauma of November 30th and will be for the rest of our lives. Number 2, the superintendent must be willing to immediately remove all individuals named in the $3 million investigation report, along with those that tried to silence this community. Angela Weaver sent out emails telling employees to not answer questions before the shooter's gun stopped smoking or the victim stopped bleeding. Number 3, must be willing to immediately remove the security team for failing to protect student privacy by spreading imagery and video of students undressing against policy, state, and federal law. And then trying to silence the whistleblowers, specifically Rourke and Vernier and Pam Fine. The sensitive content should have been isolated, removed from computers, and given to state police, not passed around for the viewing pleasure of security staff members. Number 4, the superintendent must be willing to follow all school policies, state and federal laws, including Open Meetings Act, to end exposure and liability and lawsuits costing this district money and distracting from the students' education. With the investigation report now out, I'm calling on Superintendent Vicki Markovich to take immediate action on these 4 items so the incoming superintendent doesn't have to do your job. When is the board going to address the names of staff listed in the investigation? Heather, you were gone for the whole month of December. Were you in hiding or were you on
James.
vacation?
For the pre-arranged, we're talking about agenda topics, which was the
Yeah,
superintendent.
that's what I'm
listing.
talking to. That's specifically to the point I'm speaking. But please don't interrupt me while I'm talking on my time. So, Heather, you never made a statement. No board member has talked about the report, the investigation. We spent $3 million, and not one board member has spoken about the report one time, or the staff members' names who were listed as responsible. Why aren't you talking to us? Why did we spend $3 million, Heather? They're pointing at you. The report you paid for points right at you. Why aren't you talking about it? Did you waste our money? We could have rebuilt the whole wing of the school for $3 million. So all the kids coming out of this school don't have to go into a murder zone. And you don't think that's going to traumatize these kids trying to study while they think about what happened in those hallways because you didn't do your job? Or because the superintendent didn't do his job? Or all the people who didn't do their job who knew then were warned that a shooting was going to happen at the high school?
Number 8 is the consent agenda, which you'll have the minutes of the December 18th special meeting, human resource updates, and the bills payable for December. Can I get a motion to approve? Mary?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support? Amanda? Discussion?
I would like to have one discussion item on, there has been questions that have run up by staff and community relative to what the district is doing in terms of replacing Laura Azzoni, who resigned as our recovery coordinator. And as in every resignation we get, we do what's called position control, where we review the position, we review the work, we look at what is continuing that needs to be done, we look at what resources we have in-house, and then we look at what resources we might need to gather outside. We're in the middle of that process. We have some interim coverage of her duties that are immediate and pending, and then we have still looking at and planning and studying how we move forward with the long-term replacement. So I had asked Todd Barlis to come and review with you a high-level summary of how we're preparing for that, and I thought you might want to know it before you voted on the consent agenda, if that's okay? If that's okay?
Thank you, Vicki. Hello? Thank you, Vicki. I'd like to just start with referencing that our recovery coordinator served a very important purpose in her 19 months with the district, initially developing relationships and supporting families. That is probably going to be one of the most challenging components to replace is through those relationships. We have worked directly with and been meeting with the Office for Victims of Criminal Training and Technical Assistance, who actually oversees the grant that is being referenced, the AEAP grant, and getting their direction. They've guided the district since very early in this process with how to move forward, how to support our community. They are some of the first ones called when there is a tragedy in a community. So we've had 2 meetings thus far with them, and we are continuing to plan to meet with them to guide us through what are the next steps for Oxford with regards to covering some of these responsibilities. So in the transition process with that recovery coordinator position, we sat down as a team with Mrs. Azzoni and captured many of the tasks that she was responsible for, things that had been put in place that need to be supported to continue, as well as current initiatives that need oversight in order to make sure that they're fully implemented with fidelity. So some of those things include her direct work with the families, which I have offered and been involved with, and so I will continue to be in touch with the families, working with them directly. We've talked about working with not only our 4 families, but the injured, the highly impacted, supporting our past and present highly impacted students and families as well. We've got our partnerships with North Oakland Community Coalition, as well as All for Oxford. So we've been in touch with them. I'm working directly with both of those entities. However, they both provide services at the high school directly to students. And so we're working with identifying a point of contact. So I will be the main district level contact, but when they come in with activities, say lunchroom activities for students directly, or when they're working with our Youth Action Board, we want a point of contact at the building when they arrive, if there's any kind of needs that they have when they come to our building. We also talked about responsibilities around Remembrance Day, things that annually, things that we put in place, coordinate around that at the high school as well as in the community. Some of those responsibilities. We are working, I mentioned the Office for Victims of Crime Training and Technical Assistance, which is called OVC TTAC for short. And we're not only working with them with that position specifically, but also with building capacity amongst our current mental health professionals across the district. So they are a training and technical assistance facility, and they're willing to put a PD schedule together in order to offer professional development and workshops for our current mental health professionals to grow their capacity. As I'm talking about that, we are also working with various trainings around our Trails to Wellness, which is a cognitive behavioral therapy intervention platform that we're bringing to our secondary students. That training is occurring with all secondary instructional staff to increase their capacity for being trauma informed with their students. That training is occurring next Monday, January 15th. We're also having our Oxford High School counselors and Oxford Middle School counselors trained in trauma and resiliency in education, which that's actually a platform through Star Commonwealth Schools. We had approximately 22 instructional staff complete their training and be certified as trauma and resiliency specialists in education in December. It was a 12-session process, and so we're doing that specifically with our mental health professionals at the secondary level on the 15th. We also have our CBITS training, which we've contracted to bring therapists in to provide CBITS, which is actually cognitive behavior intervention for trauma in schools. And it's really a tier 2 intervention for our kids that are identified that are really struggling with trauma, with accessing their academics. We've brought in outside clinicians to facilitate those groups for the last 2 semesters, but we are going to train our own mental health staff to facilitate those groups, and that training is going to be occurring on January 22nd. So we've got 9 mental health staff at the secondary level that will be able to facilitate those groups beginning second semester. So we're really trying to grow our capacity internally around trauma specifically. In addition to that, when I talk about needing to be trauma informed and really trying to fill that gap, we are working with different agencies that have advised us over the last couple of years regarding contracted services for trauma-informed counseling. So we're really looking to find someone that we might be able to contract with for some of those specifics around being trauma-informed as an organization and gaining that support. Vicki, is there anything else that I might have missed?
No, I don't think so. So determining what we may hire from outside and what we will be able to do within, that's what the ongoing process is like, and we're also exploring the outside resources that might be available to us. So we'll have more on it when we see how it's going. But we are not skipping a beat now. There's nothing that's being left undone until we get the full replacement venue in place. We would like to see in the process, however, a way to embed the whole recovery process as well as bring it in from the outside, embedded within our systems and our staff that we have, so that if somewhere down the line this is work that must continue, this is work that should never end, and the more you can embed it in your system without it being external, the more likely you are to be able to continue it. And that's one of the things we'll try to do as we move forward on this. Thank you, Todd.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Superintendent's report, Dr. Markovich.
Yeah, the board has asked that we update them on all of our grants, and we've had quite a bit of grant activity. We've also added some grants to our venue, and Courtney is here to give you not only a high-level view and summary, but you will notice that in your handouts, you also have a spreadsheet that gives you the details of the summary she's about to share with you. We'll go over both right now. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. My name is Courtney Mikowski, and I am the budget director. So like Dr. Markovich said, she asked me to come in and do a brief grant update to give you an idea of where we are when we're working through all of these. Oh, there we go. Got it. Okay. So here are the categories where we spend most of our grant money. So every grant that is awarded to the district comes in and it has a very specific set of requirements that we have to follow when we're deciding on what we're going to spend it on. So these are kind of like the major buckets that we get, and some examples of items that we've spent the grant money on in the last couple of years. So you can see we have safety, academic, mental health, special education, and then just some other random things that we've spent, like GSRP is our child care program. This year, the free and reduced lunches turned into actually free breakfast and lunch for all, so that is actually funded by grants. So we have lots of different things that we have. Most of this is stuff that we get funding for every year. Some of it's funding that we get one time. For example, like the reconstruction costs and the legal investigation fees are some purchases that we made with the 11W money that is something we would never get again. So here's a list of most of our grants. So we do get some little, like, we got one this year, it was a book study, we got $650. I didn't include that on this list, but this is like the big bucket of them. So most of them are for intervention supports, like at-risk, the consolidated app, the bilingual section 41, like those are ones that would fund like our math specialists, our reading specialists, our intervention paras. Those go towards those. We had the ESSER, American Rescue Plan, and the 11T. Those were our COVID dollars. Over the last 3 years, we had gotten several of them. Those are ones that we have still remaining. IDEA is a special education that pays for some of our special education instructional costs. The AEAP grant we were just referencing that was coming out of the tragedy, as well as the 11W. And then we also have some CTE, career and technical education grants that we get that fund a lot of those expenses that Lisa Butts does with her program. This year we have gotten several new grants, so I wanted to just briefly go through some of those because they might be ones that you're not familiar with. The Per Pupil Mental Health Grant, the Section 31, that one is designated for safety and mental health. So last year we had gotten 2 separate grants. One was Section 97, one was the Section 31AA. This year they combined them and gave us a little more freedom on what we are able to spend them on and allocate between the 2 different buckets. The Michigan Kids Back on Track, Section 23G, that one is to address learning loss, and it's one that we are going to try and supplement some of the funds that we use ESSER dollars on because the initiatives are aligned. The FAFSA Completion Challenge, that is one that is going to help us educate parents and students on how to complete the FAFSA application. They're giving us money to run like support groups on helping the kids go through the application process and educating the parents. So that's a really good one to help those kids that are working towards their continuing education. The universal school breakfast and lunch, that was what I was talking about, because we are offering free meals to the students, that's one that the state is giving us a little bit extra money to cover those costs. The district transportation costs, that's designated to help supplement some of the increase in the transportation costs that we've seen over the years between the wages, the mileage, the upkeep on the equipment. And then the Talent Together, Grow Your Own, that's one that Ryan Reed had came and spoke to you on. It is to it's funding to train the future educators. So we have several apprentice teachers in the district right now, and that's helping us get them into the education field and helping us absorb those into our district. There we go. There's several grants that are in their final year. So like I was talking about the ESSER grants, those COVID dollars are coming to an end. So that's part of the reason why we're seeing such a constraint on our budget. We had such an influx of money in the past few years, and now that money is going away. So 2 of those grants are remaining, the American Rescue Plan and the 11T, those end this year. The AEAP grant, that is scheduled to end in September of '24 as well as the 11W. The Oakland County Schools Mental Health Grant, we had just a little bit of money left over from last year, so that one's also spent out. And the Additional Mental Health Support, Section 31O, that was a grant that was intended to absorb mental health staff into the general fund. So the first year we got 100% coverage for those positions. The second year they covered them at 2/3. This year they covered them at 1/3. And then next year the intention was always that we would absorb those. And we have 2 school social workers and 1 psychologist that we pay for that. So that helped us bring them into the general fund. We do have a couple grants that we have pending applications on. The First Robotics grant the application is still pending. I know you're familiar with it. So we've gotten this grant the past several years. I'm fully confident that it's going to come in, but like I said, the application has not actually been approved yet. The Early Behavior Intervention Tools is one that Dr. Allison Williman is working on right now to get that in. So the deadline for that to apply is January 21st, so that should be working soon. We have some grants that we are researching. The Greenlight Initiative Grant Opportunities is a resource that they have grants that are available, so we're always looking to see if there's any new grants on there that we can apply for and see if they work for our district. Another one is the Student Loan Repayment Program. This is one that I'm still doing some research on. It's not one that would actually help the general fund. However, it would be great for our staff. It would be a great benefit to offer to them. It is to reimburse our current staff for their student loan payments, so it helps them make those payments and soften the blow of that a little bit. And then we also had a couple of grants that we have applied for that we've been denied, so I listed those there. Those are both safety and security grants, and Gary Van Staveren applied for those. Unfortunately, we were not selected. They were competitive grants, so I just wanted to give you an idea that not every grant out there we're going to be selected for. So I also have, I know Vicki said this was kind of like the bird's eye view, but I also provided you with my working document. Keep in mind that this is a working document. We're constantly updating it. A lot of the grants, like if you look at the title grants, we've received an award. However, throughout the year, they will go in and update the award amount. So just because it's listed there at that amount doesn't mean that's the amount that we're gonna end at in the end. So there's several grants that are like that. I did give you the amounts of the multi-year grants that we have, the amount remaining, so you have all that information there. And then in the column for uses, it gives you kind of a general idea of what those grants are used for. And I think that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
No, thank you for the overview. I don't know if anyone else has questions before I pipe in.
I have one quick question.
Mhm.
Courtney, you mentioned that some of the title grants, the amount you put in there is not what the amount will be.
Correct.
Does it typically tend to be more?
Correct, yes. So I've never seen it go down. So they do an initial allocation, and then I don't know what they do. It's a federal grant, so, you know, the federal government will, you know, figure out how much money they have left and divide it up, and if there's money left over, they will send that out to the districts as well.
I have a quick question. For the ones that were denied, do you receive feedback as to why they were denied and what could be improved upon for maybe next year's grant?
So we don't always receive feedback on why we're denied. So I know one of these we did get feedback on, and the other one we did not. It's just, for one of them, I know you just log on and you see the schools that were chosen, and we were not on the list, so we didn't get any information of why. I know that because there's safety grants, they're competitive, because that's, you know, on everybody's radar right now, as they want to get that money to be able to implement all the great things that we have already had in our district. So to answer your question, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
I will just add to that, though, when we do, they're reviewed by the grant team. And if it's a grant we're going to apply for again, then of course we update our matrix on what we have to attend to, more than however we attended to it before. Sometimes there's, they say, well, we needed more of this or more of that, or less of this and less of that, and it's sometimes specific. Sometimes it's a matter of your demographics and your apparent need compared to the need of other districts that are applying. So sometimes it's something you can adjust for in your application. Sometimes it's where you sit within the demographics of who else has applied. So districts with very, very, very high poverty populations sometimes have a better chance of getting certain grants than districts that don't have such high poverty numbers. So sometimes we're in that group as well.
Thank you.
Who's our grant team?
Oh, well, that's a column that's not on here, but it is a column that Courtney could share with you. So all of these grants have different people. Sometimes Anita and Steve are almost always involved in anything that's academic. Allison, Todd will be very heavily involved in anything that is safety, mental health related. Obviously, transportation's involved in anything transportation-wise, food services and food services. The business office is involved with all of the grant teams that are in action, that are operating. Gary, our director of curriculum that supports Anita and Steve, is also very involved in the grant writing process. So it's not just one, we don't have one grant writer that is dedicated to just writing all grants. The grants are written by the people who are kind of in charge of those areas that the grants would apply to.
I'm assuming Oakland County has a resource for grant writing, should it be something new or to us. So example being, you know, the ones that we were denied, if they're federal grants, is there grant writer support help if it's something that we haven't applied for before because it doesn't come in our normal buckets?
A federal grant like that,
I know federal grants are very competitive.
They're very, very competitive, and they really do rely a lot on your demographics. And so it isn't always the quality of the report you've written, but it is, as I said, kind of your standing in the group that has applied for the reports and whether you meet the demographics that the grant was designed for. Oakland Schools does have some resources for a lot of people at Oakland Schools write grants too. Again, they don't have a specific grant writing staff, but if we were writing grants in literacy, or if we were writing grants for reading instruction, or we were writing grants for facilities, we would go to Oakland Schools to those departments because we would be able to meet with people who have written a lot of grants in those areas. But once again, Oakland County is not seen as a high poverty county. And so I believe if you compared the number of federal grants Oakland County gets compared to the number of federal grants Wayne County gets, you'd see a difference because of the demography. So I've had a lot of experience with grant writers in my past, and it's very difficult for a grant writer to be able to write the assorted number of grants that you need in something as broad and diverse as a school district. You typically find people who specialize in particular areas. So it's a difficult position to be able to afford and pay, because frequently it's difficult for them to earn back their salary and benefits. There's always outside training people can go to if they need it. The other thing that happens with all of these grants is they will publish their own assistance line that our grant writers can assist, can contact, and they will also try to help. So it's an assorted number of ways.
Thanks. And I think I just want to point out for the board too, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Courtney, but when you look at the dates on here, some of these grants go by what would be a governmental fiscal year, which is October 1st to September 30th. However, we operate on a school fiscal year, which begins July 1st. So there is sometimes lost in translation those 3 months between July 1st and September 30th.
And to add on that, several of our grants, even though we have until September 30th, we wrap them up at the end of the year to try and stay on that our fiscal year. So when I put the date for the spend by, that would be the grant guidelines, but what our best practices is to try and spend them out, and then if we don't spend them out, they're carryover for the following year. So these award amounts I'm showing you are for the fiscal 24 year, but for example, like the Title I, there was a little bit of carryover that we had because we used it for summer school for what would be considered our next year, but it still is the federal fiscal 23 year. Yeah, fiscal 23 year. Does that make sense?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Thanks for the spreadsheet. It made it very helpful, I thought.
All right, going on to the next agenda item, Board of Education matters. The 2024 Board of Education Leadership Code. I want to take just a brief minute and make some comments and some recommendations. Amanda and I kind of bumped our heads together prior to this meeting and wanted to propose something to the rest of you guys in terms of what we should do as a board. So I included and had Angela print for you an example of a board assessment that's done by MASB, the government standards, and a resolution, but I think we also need to talk about board norms and a social contract. This information is in your packet for you to review, and before we assign the leadership code, I think we propose that we do have that board evaluation done. A sample of the evaluation results are in the packet, and you can see that there are 7 areas of engagement that include leadership, academic performance and accountability, board responsibilities, board effectiveness, data-driven decision-making, board superintendent relations, and community engagement and advocacy. In addition, I would like to propose that we conduct a special meeting, a board retreat per se, after results have been returned to us by MASB. This where we would review the governance standards for effective board leadership, which is included in the packet, and it's available online at MASB for those who want to look at it. It's create an updated leadership code, set board norms or a social contract, and a cadence for continued assessment. I'd like to prioritize goals, and I believe that the governance committee that we just created could use this data as they develop new board member orientation and operating procedures for our review. If you guys are in agreement with such a activity, I have proposed a timeline that we would open up the evaluation January 10th, and it would close on January 24th. We would not get the results unless all board members participated. Before the February 24th board meeting, we'd hold the retreat in February, where we would also receive our superintendent evaluation training for those of us who have not had it. This entire retreat would be facilitated by MASB. And then on the 24th, we would present our updated leadership code and any other items that we discussed and agreed upon in that meeting, which would fall within Open Meetings Act as well. So I know that's a lot and I kind of sprung it on you guys, but hoping we could have a quick discussion about it. And if that is okay with you, then we will set the date for the retreat and open up the evaluation.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with it. I've been wanting this for some time, and I think other board members have as well. And I think that this is a step in the right direction and is overdue, needs to happen. And I think that this is definitely a good first step, and I look forward to seeing where we land and what we can do to improve.
I agree, and I think it'll be a good stepping stone for like where we should go with our committee too. I think it'll give us a good laundry list, if you will, to start on the development of that, so.
A couple things just on the tool itself.
Sure.
On the board self-assessment tool, I know there are a lot of other boards that use this, and they do this in these retreats on a regular basis, and it's really been proven beneficial. The assessment itself is really simple to do. We did it, Heather, a few years ago. It just, other things changed and we didn't move forward with much of it. But it's a really simple process to complete this, so my suggestion to you all is when it opens up, just sit down and do it. It doesn't take that long. As you can see in here, all the data is aggregated, so nobody gets picked out of one person said this and you said that. The idea is to see where we all are on this continuum and what can we do moving forward. The MASB does offer the test and you can just get the results, but quite frankly, there's not, much to do with that. So I appreciate reaching out to MSB and having them facilitate reviewing this information. I think it's going to be really important to have a professional go through this with us and help us through it. So I think that's a great idea. I support that also. Thank you.
I did want to make a note to both of your points with this tool. I know I've spoken to Aaron about it, and I think it's a good starting point, but it may be something that we look at in the future to kind of customize on our own, because there are a lot of great things in here, but there are also questions in here that I feel like Oxford would want to expand on, as far as following policy and the being trauma informed. Those are more specific to what our immediate needs would be, so I feel like that's something that the governance committee can look at. Like you said, Heather, it'll give us a good starting point, but potentially we can expand on and self-evaluate throughout the year based on those additions. So just wanted to add that.
All right. I haven't heard any negative feedback, so I will have the survey open tomorrow, and then we will set a date for a board retreat in February. And that will be put out through our special announcements. All right. Any other comments on that before I move forward?
No, thank you.
All right, Board of Education meeting schedules. In the packet were the 2023 meeting schedules and the 2024-25 meeting schedule dates. This is proposed, if you got a chance to look at it against any of your calendars to make sure there were no conflicts of dates that would be overwhelmingly, one person could not attend. Otherwise, I will take a motion to approve the meeting schedule for 24 and 25 if there's no conflicts.
I just have one. I don't know if anybody else is, so I just want to make sure it's just me. For August 13th, I will not be able to attend that meeting.
I don't plan my life that far out in advance.
So, just making sure.
Okay. Sure.
Move to approve the 2024-2025 proposed Board of Education meeting schedule.
Have support? Amanda? Any discussion other than Amanda's known date that she won't be able to attend? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. All right, and here's our conflict of interest form reminder to get that back to Angela ASAP. If you haven't done it, I think she has extra forms here if you need to do it while you're here. Number D, her letter D, is the first reading of Neola Policy Special Update from the November 2023 Policy Updates. I know that, yeah, if you want to read the motion, and then we'll have Ryan do her presentation during our discussion.
Good. Move to approve the first reading of policy numbers 0122, Board Powers Revised, 1420, School Administrator Evaluation Revised, 3120, Employment of Professional Staff Reissued, 3130, Assignment and Transfer Reviewed, 3131, Staff Reductions / Recalls Revised, 3132, Vacancies Reviewed, New to District, 3139, Staff Discipline Reissued, 3140, Termination and Resignation Reviewed, 3142, Probationary Teachers Revised, 3220, Professional Staff Evaluation Revised.
Do I have support? James? All right, in discussion, we do have Ryan here to give us a policy update presentation. A lot of these have to do in her area of human resources.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Reese. Good evening and happy New Year, everyone. I had the pleasure of meeting with the policy committee last Wednesday, January 3rd, where we discussed at length these policies, and we thought it would be helpful to bring that presentation back for the entire board and the community to hear. So I will jump right into the policy updates for January 2024. There have been significant legislative changes to the revised school code and the Public Employment Relations Act. And those are the RSC and PARA for short. And these are the laws which govern how we operate the employment of individuals within a public school. Under PARA, a public school employer has the responsibility, authority, and right to manage and direct on behalf of the public the operations and activities of the public schools under its control. With the early adjournment of the legislature in November 2023, many of these changes to law become effective February 13th, 2024. That's why it was critical that the policy committee met last Wednesday, the 3rd of January, to start our work. And these updated policies, board policies, are a must and a solid starting point for us to bargain in good faith with the unions that represent our employees. So I will highlight changes to law that affect the board policies that were referenced just a moment ago. I would like to set the stage by saying under the Public Employment Relations Act, PARA, there are mandatory subjects of bargaining, permissive subjects of bargaining, prohibited, and illegal subjects of bargaining. So the first change was PA 115 of 2023, which repealed the prohibition against bargaining those 5 areas: placement, teacher placement, layoff and recall, teacher and administrator evaluation, teacher discharge and discipline, and merit pay, and I referenced the policy numbers here for you. So now, after effective February 13th, 2024, the teachers union can make a demand to bargain, and these are items that we would discuss in good faith with the union over how we will move forward with placement, layoff, and recall, and all of the things on that list. Next, we have PA 143 of 2023 that removes third-party contracting of non-instructional services as a prohibited subject of bargaining. So that will be bargainable by support staff unions after or effective 12/13/2024. February 13th. Moving on to PA 116 of 2023, this amends the revised school code section 1248 regarding teacher placement, layoff, and recall decision, and requires the school board to adopt, implement, maintain, and comply with clear and transparent procedures for all personnel decisions made under section 1248, and that's policy 3131. PA 224 of 2023 amends the revised school code section 1249, teacher and administrator evaluations. These are effective on July 1st, 2024, but the policies have been updated to include language on how we currently operate and how we will operate as of 7/1/2024. And the next 3 slides provide a brief summary of the revised policies as well as the policies that were reissued and reviewed. So you can see 0122, board powers, that revision is due to the change to para that is modifying subjects that are currently prohibited subjects of bargaining, which will be unprohibited as of February 13th. Board policy 1420, we have school administrator evaluations. There are many changes due to the change in law that will be effective 7/1/2024. Staff reductions and recall, 3131, board policy number. You have the revision due to the fact that as of February 13th, it's no longer a prohibited subject of bargaining. And there's an additional amendment to section 1248 of the revised school code relating to what can be used in decision-making factors and staffing situations. Board policy 3142, we have probationary teachers. New laws have changed the rating system on how we evaluate our teachers and how they're rated, and that's thus the need to revise that policy. The revised policies continue. You have 3220, professional staff evaluation. Again, this is changing on 7/1/24. There are many changes to the evaluation process, including the rating system. Probationary period is going from 5 years to 4 years. Rater reliability training requirement that we are working on planning for this summer. And then there are some reissued policies, and I just noted grammatical changes, an addition under staff discipline, reviewed assignment and transfer, grammatical changes. 3132 vacancies. This is a policy that the Board of Education in Oxford had not previously adopted to our records, and we checked with Neola. It is recommended as a best practice. And then termination and resignation, we have grammatical changes that were reviewed. Okay, in terms of rollout, I just want to touch briefly, this is the last slide. Tonight we have the first reading, the second reading on the 23rd of this month. Once approved, the updated policies will be published in the board book. We will email it out to all administrators, secretaries, and staff. We are actively planning training, as I spoke to, regarding rater reliability training that is required by the law, as well as getting our staff up to speed on the new matrix for, and working as well with Marzano, the new matrix for teacher evaluation. So we will be busy working with all of our stakeholders to ensure that they are completely up to date on the changes. It is likely they are also being informed by their collective bargaining groups, because there is an incentive for them to make a demand to bargain over some of these subjects of bargaining that are currently prohibited but will not be prohibited as of February 13th. Does anyone have any questions?
I just wanted to add a comment. When you talked about the policy that we did not have on record, as we discussed in the policy committee meeting, that those are practices that we have been following. They just weren't, for whatever reason, they weren't listed as the board had voted on them. So, but we were doing
correct
the things outlined in that policy.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from policy committee members in regards to the discussions or?
Yep, I can point out a few things for the board. Let me just go back. Under policy 3131, if you look on the back page, we did add in evidence of student growth as a metric, and that was something that we in the committee decided And so I just wanted to point that out to you in case anybody has any qualms with that, we can discuss.
So you
And then
added
for the
in that
next
whole
time-
section D? Is that
Yep,
what
the,
you just added the 1, 2.
the evidence of student growth, we did omit the second sentence of it, being the predominant factor
Okay.
in evaluating performance, but originally that was not an option selected, and we decided to select that.
I see.
So I just wanted to point that out. And then just some notes from the committee meeting on policy 3142. The third paragraph from the bottom, we discovered that the probationary teacher performance should be given to the board yearly. That has not been done, so that will be done in the future. I believe, Aaron, we talked, or, sorry, I'm so sorry, Ryan, I didn't mean to say Aaron. In May is the anticipated date for that. And then, I'm looking for the policy that it is, but you would have all noticed that we had a late update to the agenda as far as the HR update with the new hires, and that is to remain in compliance with, which one was it?
3120, I believe.
3120, no? Is that?
30.
Yeah, you're right, I'm sorry, 3120. So, moving forward to stay in compliance with that, that is probably going to happen again, that we have updated HR into our agenda. And I think those were the main specific things that we had talked about outside of complying with the new law going into effect. Anything else, James or Mary, that I missed?
No, this is what I alluded to earlier, that while we did all that work here, then when the law changed, we'll go back through and strike the non-relevant stuff that's no longer applicable and stuff, so it's, next 6 months will be busy, but it's okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, the next item on the agenda is the job posting for the new superintendent. It was updated. All of the board members did meet with HYA over the break, so thank you for taking time to do that so we could get this finalized. Just wanted to point out, one of the things I know we discussed last time is that the candidate, we would prefer that they have trauma-informed practice training already. HYA did let us know that they have not seen that in candidates' profiles necessarily in the past, at least it wasn't highlighted. So what we did include on the qualifications is the candidate must agree to receive trauma-informed training, and this way we will get to choose what they go through. And Todd, if you're stating that all of our staff are going through Star Commonwealth, it would probably be advised that we have our superintendent also go through that if they're not coming in with it already. Were there any questions on that? All right, I'll take a motion to approve the job posting. Heather?
Move to approve the job posting for the new superintendent as presented.
Any other discussion?
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I do just want to just add to the end of that, one of the decisions that we needed to make after I'm sorry.
Support that?
Oh, I know. No? All right, sorry. Support?
I'll support it.
It's a new person thing. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. All right, the other thing that we have to, and we owe HYA still, is our advertising decision. So they did send to the board the advertising numbers that we had asked for in our special meeting. The questions were where it's showcased on the home pages for Ed Week and top school jobs for 7 days. The job would be showcased for 7 consecutive days or rotate through a 30-day posting. It will rotate through a 30-day posting. The other question is if we went with AASA online listing for 30 days, how many views would it get? The average stats for HYA posting, we have over 10,000 job exposures and 730 clicks would occur while it's posted. So that is during the timeline of posting. Forgot to bring the actual numbers with me on what those cost, but I wanted to say it was a few $1,000s for both of them. I don't know if you're logging into board portal, Amanda, you can let us know what the cost was. The other thing I just wanted to remind while she's looking that up is the timeline and where we're at. So in the posting, you'll see the timeline for the superintendent and their submission. But one of the items that I know individuals are interested in is our stakeholder and information groups. They did tell me today that they will be putting together the schedule and hoping to get it to us by next week. But you can tentatively plan for either February 7th, 8th, or 9th for one of the stakeholder groups. Those are confirmed dates. We just don't have the order in which they will be doing the groups themselves. Some will be via Zoom.
7, 8, 9?
7, 8, 9.
Thank you.
The email gave us the exposures and views, but it doesn't have price.
It was on the spreadsheet.
It was on the original proposal, so let me look up the original proposal. Because it's not in.
It's not in the portal?
It's not in the contract.
It would be
I
on
think
the
it is.
initial proposal, which I.
It's in the original proposal, but it's not in the portal, but then I couldn't get back in the portal.
I apologize.
The good thing is too, just a side note, why she's looking at that is HYA is going to a national conference, but it it's being held, I believe, in Milwaukee, and so I think they feel that there's gonna be a lot of Midwest support there, and so, obviously they're eager to make our announcements and talk about our position there, so that'll be good. Oops, I'm sorry.
I don't think we have to vote on it. We can just have a general consensus if it's something we would want to do moving forward, and then we can let them know that we would like them posted online in these different areas. So does anybody have any qualms with it?
No, I mean, if we're doing the search, we should do it right. We should,
Yeah.
to not spend a couple.
I think it was $3,750, right?
Yeah.
So the online is.
It's not,
Do we have to vote on it tonight?
no.
So then we don't have to hold the meeting for it.
Okay.
If it can wait 2
Be
weeks.
fine
then-
by then.
Okay.
All right, the other agenda item next is our FOIA appeal. All of us received a copy of the FOIA appeal. I just need a motion, whether we grant or deny it. Mary?
Move to grant the FOIA appeal dated December 13, 2023.
Any support? Amanda? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next agenda item is to appoint legal counsel. Can I get a motion to approve? Heather?
Move to appoint Perkins Coie LLC and Taft Law LLC as legal counsel for Oxford Community Schools for the 2023-2024 school year.
Any support? Colleen?
Support.
Discussion?
So why don't we explain, like, what is this in,
This is,
These are just,
What will we be
these
offering?
are firms that we believe need to be added to our roster of lawyers because they have specialties in areas that would be of interest to us, that aren't specialties of other law firms we have.
Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 11. Sam?
Good evening. I just want to let you know that Sasha will be coming up here to speak to you in regards to the two RFPs related to the Drainer Road building redevelopment or remodel.
Look at the seat or the stand.
You can stand if you want.
So we went out to bid for the security camera and car readers, the security camera and car readers, and structured cabling at the Drainer property. I believe the first quote you guys have right there is for the security cameras. It is for $107,670 by Eagle, who submitted the bid. They were not the lowest bid, however, the lowest bid by PCS was incomplete. They were short cameras and short cabling. Eagle's bid is a turnkey solution that includes everything we need.
And then I do have one question, if you don't mind. Just to clarify, this is the IT costs we were doing outside of the general construction project that's occurring there that we approved a few months ago, correct?
Correct. We approved it, but we went back out to bid for it. We had some changes we needed to do, and we solicited bids.
Any other questions?
and this is just for reads.
Just for the review tonight, right? We
Yeah,
vote on
we're
it
not
next-
voting on
at the
it
next
tonight.
meeting.
Correct.
Actually, it's the same one. So how do you, I want to, you are our secure, cybersecurity professional. So how do you feel about, what they submitted for their proposal?
I'm 100% confident with it.
Great, all right. Thank you for waiting.
So the next bid,
Sorry.
the proposal was for structured cabling at Drainer. There were 4 bidders. The lowest bid in this situation was also very incomplete, I'll say, with many drops not included and cabling that wasn't included as well for the card readers. And the next lowest bid was Eagle, again, $158,843. That includes, again, absolutely everything we need, full confidence in everything that they proposed. And yeah, if you guys have any questions for that one?
I do not. Does anybody else on? All right.
All right, good on that one?
Yeah, we are good on that
Okay.
one.
And then the third one is, I guess, kind of informational. I'm not sure if we need board approval for this one because it's a software solution that we're looking to migrate. But we wanted to talk about it. We currently use ExactVision for our security camera servers. It's a very expensive program, and there's features that I would like to include with that system that would cost us roughly another $40,000 per year. We currently pay about $18,000, $19,000 in support yearly for that system. And there's a proposal to switch over to another NVR solution called Axis. It is by the same manufacturer of almost all of our cameras that we have in district. It includes the features that I'm really looking for, which are like Active Directory authentication, better auditing, as well as case management. And it's the license fees for the cameras are about half the cost for the same license for ExactVision. And the software, or the yearly fee we would be paying for support would be around $7,000 a year, as opposed to our current $18,000 per year bill, with features that we don't have.
Can you just run through those features one more time
Yeah.
for me?
So we have what's called LDAP authentication. Instead of having to manually create users and managing separate passwords, we would connect our Active Directory with our ICJ was laughing over there, with the camera system, so we can permission people properly. As we have staff come in and leave, as their Active Directory account is disabled or enabled or whatever, the accounts would also be deprovisioned on the servers, so we wouldn't have to worry about a second account that we'd have to disable. We would also have a lot better auditing. It would be a lot easier for someone to, say Jim needs to jump on another computer that's not his computer. He can quickly sign in with his credentials into the software and pull all of his cameras, all of his views, and have all his permissions everywhere. So, real good features to have for a security system.
Any other questions from board members?
No, I was going to say, I mean, it's standardizing our environment to what has now become commonly the cyber, the best we can do to protect. I mean, it's not a chance of when, it's if. Let me rephrase that, reverse it. Not if, but when, and how are we going to be able to respond to it. And LDAP was old technology back in the 90s. And this way, if somebody leaves or, it's instantaneous. And it makes more sense completely across the board for everything.
All right.
We're good?
We're good.
All right.
We'll see, we won't see you, but we'll let Sam know in 2 weeks. Thank you. All right, unscheduled public comment. The next agenda item. Everyone's ready? Laura Lucas.
I guess I get to go first tonight. Just as background information, just over a month ago, my daughter stood in a courtroom and delivered a very emotional victim impact statement at the sentencing of the school shooter. In that statement, she vividly described the symptoms that she deals with due to her PTSD every single day. Things that include flashbacks, anxiety, a profound sense of vulnerability, sound sensitivity, night terrors, survivor's guilt, and debilitating panic attacks. What she didn't describe in her victim statement was her struggle to get the help that she needs every day from her school. And let me be clear, I'm not talking about the teachers. The teachers have been amazing, and they've gone above and beyond. I'm talking about the administrative and the counseling and the other services that have been implemented supposedly to help her heal. I don't have time in 3 minutes to go into the details of everything. But there's been numerous times when she's tried to go to the quiet or calm room, and she was turned away because it was full or because she didn't need it as bad as other kids did. Or when she went to the counseling office after experiencing a panic attack during the first Alice drill, and the counselor, when she started to ask questions and made her cry, and she couldn't speak anymore, got angry with her and told her that she was being oversensitive and ridiculous. That was her word, ridiculous. And said there was nothing that she could do to help her. Or the fight that I had for over a year to try to get a 504 plan in place for her. Why? Because she still gets good grades and has no behavior issues. Doesn't mean she doesn't kill herself to get those grades. That she doesn't have to work 100 times harder now than what she used to. She does. I don't have time to describe any more details right now in 3 minutes, but I will tell you this. When the guidepost report came out, I went to the listening session for the seniors. Because she's a senior now. And there were only 2 other parents there, which was okay. Honestly, I can't blame the rest of the parents for not being there, because honestly, I don't feel like much was heard that night or addressed afterwards. But it just so happened that Laura Azzoni, was helping to facilitate my session. And you can imagine after the experiences I had with these services from the school, that I was distrustful, I was hesitant of talking to anyone about our struggles, that they might even be able to provide help. But by the time I was done with that conversation with Laura, I really and truly felt like I finally found someone who had understood. That trauma isn't just based on whether they get good grades or bad grades or have behavioral issues. You can still get good grades and be a good person and still experience a lot of trauma.
Yes.
Sorry if I can finish. Anyway, I reached out to her shortly afterwards, and then again, this was, 18 months after she started, right? And started to talk about different options for my daughter. I was finally getting hopeful, and then she resigned. And now my daughter is stuck again with no help. And I know the HR person was talking about all these lovely plans and stuff, but I really and truly don't trust anyone that's in these positions. I looked for 18 months for help for my daughter. 18 months, and it took me that long to find her. I cannot impress upon you on how important it is that we seek and fill this position with somebody who is equally as active and supportive in doing things for our children's good. And also, because again, these duties are now divided between multiple people. I don't know how anything can be adequately taken care of, addressed. But also I feel as if it's equally important for you to impress upon the administration and the people in the buildings so that when this person does come on board, they don't meet with resistance and they can hit the ground running. Our kids deserve this. Our kids need this. And again, failure to do anything less than this, doing anything less than this would be nothing more than just another failure for our children.
Thank you.
Mark?
Mark James Gillum, and I'm going to read this so I can stay on track. Happy New Year to the Oxford community students, parents, and teachers. I love and care about you all very much. And a special shout out to the families who needlessly lost their precious children on November 30th and the wounded survivors. We hear you, we see you, and we care about you with love and compassion, action for change and justice. With this new year, I have renewed my commitment to expose this board's attempted cover-up and help bring justice for all the victims of the needless murders of Hannah, Madison, Justice, and Tate. Their names and lives will be honored with love and justice and remembrance. Thank you to all the parents, teachers, community members, elected officials, attorneys, and whistleblowers who are standing up to the individuals responsible for this tragedy. I do not forgive the loss of life and trauma caused by the gross negligence and the wanton indifference of school board members, including Heather Schaefer and Mary Hanser, and Superintendent Throne, Principal Wolf, Counselor Hopkins, EJAC, Pamela Fine, and the school resource officer, along with each employee that has assisted in a failed attempt to silence this community, including Angela Weaver, law enforcement officers, and security team members. Before November 30th, the school was repeatedly warned about the threat of a school shooting by community members, students, support staff, multiple teachers, state police, OK to Say, and the shooter himself multiple times, yet the board members, Superintendent Throne, Principal Wolf, his assistant, and the school resource officer, head of security, Counselor Hopkins, EJAC, and Pam Fine did nothing to stop the shooter. Heather Schaefer and Mary Hanser, can you please tell the community when you discussed and voted in accordance with the Michigan Open Meetings Act to reject our Honorable Attorney General Dana Nessel's repeated attempt to investigate the November 30th tragedy instead of wasting our $3 million and delaying justice? Mr. Barless, why did Jim Rourke and Jim Vernier remove the critical incident stress management team that was prearranged and dispatched by the Oakland County Emergency Services from the high school? We don't have mental health issues, we have critical incident stress management issues. keeping Stephen Wolf employed along with Mary and Heather on the board are multiplying the trauma in this community. These are at-will employees and could be fired tonight by Vicki Markovich if she did her job instead of obstructing. Shout out to attorneys Timothy J. Mullins and Bob Bryan over at Gramarco, Mullins, and Horton. We have people that don't live in our community trying to control the narrative of our students, parents, school employees, and board members. Your efforts to try and, I'm almost done. Your efforts to try and frame our community members as the problem or threat is rejected. Since the investigation has been released, we now know the names of the people who are dangerous and a threat to the safety of our children and our teachers, who we love very much. How did a group of security people from Oak Park find their way into our school? Will you board members please speak during the board comments time and respond to the community about your involvement and your response to the $3 million investigation report and the individuals named?
Danielle Crozet.
Good evening. Not actually as prepared as I usually am and like to be. A couple things. First and foremost, it is absolutely insulting and irresponsible to have Mary or Heather on any policy,
Yes.
safety,
Yes.
or government committee. The listening sessions, there was a commitment made to this community to gather the information across the listening sessions and answer every question. Vicki, you made that commitment. We have not heard the answer to every question asked. It is your responsibility to ensure that every question has been answered for this community, for the parents, the students, the victims' families. As it relates to the guidepost report, we were told also that there would be consideration to amend the report with the questions and the answers. We've been told by Guidepost that they have not been asked to create an amendment. So my question to you is, who on the board has authorized or made a decision not to do this? Because it is only the board that can call for a vote to make this decision. It is the board's responsibility to see the investigation through, not the superintendent.
Yes.
As it relates to the grant update, just a couple months ago, you brought forward this 5-year budget and emphasized the deficit that we are facing ahead, which I immediately asked for a grant update. As a parent in the community, I have experience writing grants. I'm concerned about the deficit. I asked for the update. The board didn't ask for the update. I asked for it. And as of this morning, this was still being created. So I raised this because yet another dysfunctional concern, Mary, overseeing the financial management and control. We should have visibility to this. And I echo what Marissa said. There are families, parents, educated, experienced people in the community that are willing to help. Again, I echo everything Marissa, Mark, and Laura have said tonight, especially as it relates to the trauma, the misunderstanding of the trauma and impact in the community across all students, across all schools, all ages. It would be irresponsible not to take that seriously. Just a related topic, quick show of hands, if I might. Who sitting on this board has read the Arapahoe High School shooting investigative report? Has anyone? Amanda? Okay. I'm ashamed to say that I have only just recently read it. The report was released in 2016. The shooting was in 2013. The report references tragic failures of policy, threat assessment policies, lack of threat assessment teams, lack of best practices, systematic breakdowns. We could have done a find replace of Arapahoe and put Oxford in there and saved $2 million on our report. The reason I raise this actually is because there are a number of you sitting on the board that have 10 or plus more years of experience sitting on a school board that missed the opportunity
to take the 2016 lessons learned and apply them to this community.
Yeah.
You did not pay attention to what was going on outside of the blue and gold bubble that is Oxford, and we missed the opportunity to learn. So my question to you is, what are you going to do differently now? How are you reaching out to the communities around us, the principals, the school boards, the districts, and recognizing the failures, not patting yourself on the back for all the physical security things that we've implemented, but recognizing our failures and ensuring that our surrounding communities across the nation, really, but let's just start with the surrounding communities. What are you doing to make sure that those board members read the guidepost report and understand the failures that you made? So Mary, Heather, Colleen, Vicki even, you guys were sitting in a school board probably on 2016, or sitting as a superintendent. Arapahoe, if you read it, they wanted other communities to learn from it. We didn't. We failed. We failed. Don't fail again with the guidepost report. We have to be transparent. We have to disclose it. We have to do everything we can to make sure this never happens again. Last but not least, I beg you, as you enter this closed session today, think about Tate and Hannah and Madison and Justin and their families. Think about all 1,600 staff and students. Think about the 8 others physically injured. And do the right thing.
Thank you, Danielle. Barb?
Had a match this afternoon in Clarkston, which we did win. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I sit before you as a parent. I have 4 students, I had 4 students in the district. I have 3, a 5th-year senior currently in the OSEC program, and 2 juniors at OHS. I'm a fellow alumni, and I work for the district as well. I work at central office, and I've been here for 6 years. I'm a proud Team O member. And I came to kind of speak out tonight. I'd like to first acknowledge and thank you as board members for the commitment and work you are doing each day for the success of our students and the care and support you've provided for our staff, our students, and our community. I do not envy the jobs that you have been in and the work you have done for the past 2 years. I would like to publicly thank Board President Heather Schaefer and Treasurer Mary Hanser for your continued participation and support of our students, our staff, our community. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. I would also like to recognize and thank Dr. Markovich for your leadership and commitment to getting Oxford Community Schools through this transitions over the past year. The experience and guidance you've provided throughout the school year has been a gift. I have personally grown under your leadership, and I thank you for being here. In addition, I would like to recognize Dr. Allison Willman. Her commitment and dedication to the safety and security to all of our students and staff is so very appreciated. As a parent and staff person, I feel 100% confident that Oxford Community Schools is the safest school district in our state due to her commitment and experience and systems that have been put in place under her leadership. Dr. Williman has the educational leadership and unique area of experience in safety and security that makes her a true asset to Oxford Community Schools. Lastly, I'd like to recognize Mr. Todd Barless. His leadership in implementing supports and systems to meet the social and emotional needs of our students and staff district-wide have been imperative for improvements in our overall emotional growth from this tragedy. He has personally helped me in my healing journey. Throughout this year, I've had the opportunity in my work life and my personal life. I'm very active in my school. I'm active in the band. I go to every play. I go to every musical. I go to every football game. I got a cheerleader. I'm present and I'm also very active in my job in supporting parents. And I've talked with hundreds as a listening ear, and I've always been a judgment-free zone, that everybody's at a different place in their learning journey, in their healing journey. And a lot of that I got from Todd. And we all have good days and we all have bad days, and that's okay. So this past Sunday, I was at church where it was shared, outlook changes outcome. These words struck me at this time as we look as a community to truly look at what outcome we're working to achieve. For the past 2 years, many have been inappropriately demanding for resignation and change to school board members and district administration. And over the past 2 years, this district has undergone a tremendous amount of change of both school board members, district administration, along with increased safety, security, social emotional supports, staff training and development, and many other supports for trainings and offerings to students, staff, parents, and community members. I feel confident as a parent who reads the newsletters and listens to the board presentations on what is happening within our district, that we have made changes and improvements, and we will continue to strive to be the best educational district in our area, providing more choices and opportunities than any other school district around. But what has not changed in these past 2 years? Lansing, funding, requirements for schools. In order to truly make the lives of Tate, Justin, Madison, and Hannah matter, we need to advocate for change in Lansing. We need to advocate on the importance of school security and mental health supports in public education. Legislative changes providing funding, guidance, and accountability for all school districts to provide a safe, secure learning environment with the mental health supports needed for students throughout Michigan. We need to stop banging down the doors at 10 North Washington and stand together as one voice in Lansing to make real change so all students can be safe at school. It is time to work together towards systematic changes in our educational system. Yet let's use the strength and determinations that our angels possess and show how Oxford Community Schools now is an example of what can be done. Let's stand together in Lansing and fight for funding and accountability. That is the only way to reduce the number of school shootings and provide the mental health supports before another tragic event happens. Thank you.
Linda Joe White.
Good evening, Happy New Year. Thank you for allowing me to sit before you. My name is Linda Jo White. I'm an Oxford resident and I have a junior in the school system. Eastern philosophy does not see the word crisis. When they go to translate our word crisis in Eastern philosophies, they use the word opportunity, and they always have. So as a result, in Eastern philosophies, folks that grow up there never see crisis. They always see opportunity. There's an African proverb that says the best way for a lion to eat an elephant is piece by piece. And as you discuss the SOPs tonight, I'm reminded of my 25 plus years of quality system and ISO auditing and creating SOPs for the automotive industry, where their products are vehicles. Our 2024 elephant is an opportunity to create SOPs for the most valuable, I think, and I think all of us think this way, an important product that we will ever make, and that's our children. There's folks like me, and I want you to know that I just am gonna be present, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna be before you. I'm the squeaky wheel that will get the oil, because I'm here to support and take bites out of that elephant. I can do the work, qualified to do the work that's required for this opportunity to bring a review of policies and procedures that ultimately will lead to healing of our families and our community. 2024 presents opportunity to look at the policies, the processes, the nonconformances, do the root cause analysis, do the 8 Ds, the 5 Ys, all of these things that we'll do for Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. We need to do right now for our children so that we can apply corrective action, identify the corrective action, apply the corrective action, because these are legacy corrective actions. These are things that 40 years from now, right? the children that sit in the school and in the cafeteria will benefit from. We have broken and chaotic systems, but we can fix them. The mother who spoke, she prompts me as a 58-year-old woman who was gang raped, and for 25 years, and when I was 19, so this is 39 years ago, I didn't get any help for 25 years. I didn't speak up because I knew the stigma that was attached to being assaulted. But then after 25 years, I got help. And man, I am a superhuman, full of passion, potential power, right, purpose, as are every single one of the children who are here in our system, who will come through our system in the future. And that's 40 years from now. You're building a legacy. You're taking corrective actions for a legacy. So in closing, there's another proverb that says, until the lion tells the story, the hunter will always be the hero. So I encourage you this evening, as you talk, as you go into a closed session, make those decisions to rewrite the things that we know need to be rewritten, for the broken systems and the chaotic systems to be fixed, for closure, healing, and for an opportunity to move forward, knowing that we'll never see another November 30th again. And we can have the impact on the communities around us and nationwide, right? Let us be that 1%. Let us be the lions who told the story of being able to overcome and change. So thank you for your time. I'm grateful to be able to sit before you. My name is Linda Jo White, and I am here for the legacy of Hannah, Madison, Justin, and Tate. Thank you.
Thanks, Kira?
Hi. So at the beginning of the meeting today, I was kind of hopeful when Aaron was unanimously, put up for president. And then the community has been asking, and it may not be all of the community, but I'm going to be going all over the place because I didn't intend to speak, that we have a tendency to teach and heal from the highest level, right? The people under an average. We don't go too high and we don't really hit the people below. But that doesn't work when it comes to trauma, right? Because we're gonna have people who aren't really affected. And those are the people that are saying, you know what, it's okay, just look how far we've come, which is great, we have come a long way. But it doesn't mean that we still don't have a long way to go. And so I know that all of you joined the board to make a difference in your school, to want to do good. But there comes a point in time when we also have to recognize our limits. And sometimes the best that we can do for our community is to step down. And doing that, like Laura was speaking with her kid, and countless other stories that I've heard from community members, we are failing the kids that need the most help. That's still a problem, and that still needs to be fixed. And saying that, oh no, this is it, and we gotta go to Lansing isn't gonna solve the problem here at home. Yes, that needs done, but they're not mutually exclusive. We can still clean house here in Oxford, get stuff done, and handle Lansing too. They're not mutually exclusive. But we need to work here and focus on the kids that are being turned away because they're being, what was the word, Laura? Overlooked and being passed off because they're not qualifying for what people are saying they need help for. What is that? We need to do better. We need to do better. That's it.
Thank you. Corey?
The green light shouldn't start yet.
I know, I'm working on things.
Okay, thank you.
gotta reset it, and I didn't want it to buzz, and, yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. Okay. I've worked in education since 2006. I was an adjunct professor at Loyola University in New Orleans before moving here to Michigan in 2011 when my husband was hired as a professor at the local university. I grew up with a family who served their community my whole life. Ranging from my father, who passed away from ALS, serving as a prominent deacon in the Catholic Church. I have a sister who is a board-certified behavioral analyst, child development specialist working with autistic children, and I have a cousin who's a police detective. I am here again seeking accountability and truth. I am deeply concerned about the lack of listening this board and admin have had in the past 2 years. The students and victims have voiced their needs, concerns, and experiences. Families brought the ashes of their beloved children to a meeting. You all stared at them, and yet none of you acknowledged it. Think about that for a moment. It's disgraceful. It's disgusting. It's unbelievable. Most of these students have spent their whole lives attending Oxford Community Schools from early years through high school. Essentially, Oxford Community Schools is their second home. Some teachers think of their students as their own kids and care about them like family. I know I do, especially in the primary school years. So why is it that their Oxford school family ignores the students' needs and pleads for trust, integrity, honesty, and accountability? I've heard from many parents that their child finally felt listened to by Judge Kwaname Rowe, that he actively listened to them, something that hasn't been done in years, certainly not by our school district. Judge Rowe doesn't know these kids. He doesn't see them 5 days a week, 9 months a year, yet he showed more sincerity and concern than our school district. Every decision made after shots were fired was meant to protect this business. There was never an intention to aid the healing trauma of victims. Otherwise, you would have not sent the students back into those hallways just months later. Parents from nearby school districts cannot believe this decision. It screams a total lack of common sense and poor judgment. Even the Easter Seals counselors at the time couldn't believe it. It was one of the first of many actions the school has made that lack trauma-informed decisions and common sense that are shared by nearly all people. MSU, for example, a year after their shooting was still discussing when the university would reopen the hall. This has ignited a debate about how soon students should have to step foot in a building where their classmates were shot, if ever. So I've noticed at many of the board meetings that there's no discussion, no questions between board members regarding some very important topics. Yet you all seem to be able to just agree on things and vote. The intent behind the Open Meeting Act law is to ensure governmental transparency, the ability of citizens to witness, view, and participate in the actions of the board. The Open Meetings Act, along with the corresponding Freedom of Information Act, form the foundation and expectation of government openness and transparency for federal, state, and local public bodies and officials. Most recent votes that had little to no discussion are the hiring of a firm to find our superintendent. Most recent votes that had, and then the vote for the formal hearing in regards to Ms. Schaefer's recent lashing out at a community member through a social platform. Again, no public discussion. Next, why is Pam Fine allowed to mention student names on her personal Facebook page? Even the students who were murdered? The families want her to resign. Her continued employment is a trigger. I'm sure they don't want her using their child's name to promote herself or the school. The messages, and I'm almost done, the messages that the district sends are mixed and malleable depending on the agenda. I mean, on one hand, we're told that the memorial cannot have Justin, Madison, Hannah, and Tate's names, faces, or the date on it because it's too triggering. But staff members are allowed to use names, faces, and date over and over to promote the district. I believe that the only way through this darkness is to be a light for the victims, and that the only way to fight this evil or injustice is to support them even more.
So despite what some may believe, denying and lying accomplishes, it never makes a situation better. As always, the truth will set you free. As always, I will choose to support the victims. That's how love wins.
Yes.
Couple more sentences. The greater the feeling of responsibility for the person, the more true love there is. To me, the most important thing is to have a sense of responsibility, commitment, and concern for those who are experiencing intense sorrow and pain. Every child that was shot has a lawsuit against this school and this involved staff. Own your mistakes, apologize, and make amends. To believe in something and to not live it is dishonest. Integrity is choosing your thoughts and actions based on values rather than personal gain. Thank you.
Renee?
James, just give me 1 second. Barb, with all due respect, I wonder if you'd be showering praise on the board if this was your seat right here, okay? And secondly, please don't lecture us about Washington.
Renee, Renee, that's, I'm sorry. part You're of to the be purpose- addressing the board, not the audience. Excuse me. You're to be addressing the board, not the audience.
It was hard to take, so I had to respond. Good evening. On New Year's Eve, my son went to a party in Oxford with about 15 of his, oh, I'm sorry, I wanted to mention this. Please don't write while I'm talking. I would just like a connection. Like, there were things people were saying up here that really didn't need to be written down, so I would appreciate it if we could just have a connection right now. My son went to a party in Oxford with about 15 of his classmates. He had a 1 o'clock in the morning curfew. At 1:05, I got a text from him. It said, "Hey Mom, is it okay if I'm a little bit later than 1 o'clock? They are lighting lanterns for Tate's birthday right now, and I would like to stay for that. Is that okay?" Sometimes it feels like you live on another planet, so I want to show you where we live. Okay? This is where we live. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but sometimes this is like amateur hour, and I cannot not speak. I can't. There's a lot of discussion going on during this meeting. I haven't seen that before. Mary, James, I heard you say I'd like to discuss something. Aaron said I'd like to discuss something. Some comments that you guys made, and it made me think, like, Colleen, why have I never heard you say to your colleagues here, "Hey guys, I would like to discuss the Oxford High School students right now." I want to hear you say, "I just spent 3 days over there with them, and here's what they're feeling and thinking and doing." I would love to hear that discussion. Mary, why have I never heard you say to your colleagues on the board, what are we doing to meet the needs of those poor families? What questions do we need to answer for them? Why are you not discussing that? Why is that not on your agenda? I've never heard anybody say, "Let's discuss the guidepost report and answer questions that haven't been answered yet." Why is no one discussing that? Just curious. Or how about you talk about how much you botched the post-shooting healing for kids? No trauma-informed experts. Dr. Henry, who today I found out from a counselor that teaches at Wayne State, told me that never in a million years would she have brought Dr. Henry in for these traumatized kids. Why don't we discuss that? You live in a bubble here, it's like an echo chamber. And everything that's happening now, you are reaping the seeds of what you've sowed. This is what you've created, sadly. There was a different way. I know Mullins doesn't think so, but there was a different way. So continue to ignore us, that's fine. Continue not to answer our questions, but I want you to know that there's people in this community who are being forced to find an audience somewhere else. There's people finding an audience with Governor Whitmer, Karen McDonald, the Attorney General. Okay? So continue to ignore us, but we will find other people to talk to, and that should scare you a little bit.
All right, that is the end of our public comments.
I wasn't gonna, could I check all the cards off real quick?
Sure, Buck.
You don't have to fill out a card.
Just go ahead, Buck.
We're here for you.
Couple things I want to touch on. I wasn't planning on talking tonight, but I feel compelled to say a little something. I sent you all an email about the MSU school shooting. I got a reply from Amanda, Heather, and Mike. And I know, Aaron, you and I talked about it, but I never got a reply from you. And the reply I got from Colleen was, that's interesting. So I replied back and said, well, what was interesting? And I didn't get a reply. But I kind of wanted, and I got nothing from you, James. I'm not sure why you didn't reply. Mary, nothing from you either. It's okay to talk. Quit thinking about lawsuits. Be humans. Because you're looking at a human. You know that, James?
Both ways.
Yep. So, many don't know that the MSU shooting, there was a settlement, and in the articles, the board talked about how important it was to treat the families with some respect and some dignity and make it right with them. And it's been the complete opposite with this board. You haven't done anything to make us feel loved. Here's an example. I'm gonna tell a little story about Christy Gibson Marshall. As many of you know, Christy was with Tate in his final moments. Christy used to be the principal here at Lakeville, where all three of our boys went. We have a deep relationship with Christy. Tate had a very deep relationship with Christy. Christy, as you know, there's a Wildcat Award here that's issued at Lakeville. It's now called the Tate Muir Award. Tate won that. Christy picked him. It's a principal award. So there's a lot of history there. So as Sherry and I are kind of working our way through this with our boys, we're constantly trying to figure out how to handle it. Every day is different. So Sherry called Christy one day and asked if Christy could take her to the spot Tate was killed. And Sherry was trying to get an understanding. She likes to paint a picture of things, and it was really bothering her. She really wanted to understand that area. So Christy took her there, and I believe Kurt Noose was with them. She came home, and she felt good about that. It helped her kind of paint that picture of that area, Tate's final moment. So I was like, hey, I want to do that. So I happened to be up at the high school getting interviewed for the 42 jersey story that they do on the football team by the production class, and I texted Christy when I was done and asked her if she could show me the spot. And of course, Christy obliged. She'll do anything for our family. So So Christy took me to the spot, kind of walked me through everything, and then class happened to get out. So when class got out, we just kind of started walking. We didn't want to be standing there at the spot. And I guess there was some staff member who was a little upset with me being there. Students weren't upset. I don't know, I must have gave 12 kids a hug. They're not triggered by my face. I'm doing something pretty badass. Our family's doing something pretty badass. So kids aren't triggered by us. But Christy got put on a paid leave of absence for doing that for me, for our family. So, and I didn't hear this from Christy. I heard this from somebody else at the school, but I confirmed it with Christy. And I sent an email to the board, and I didn't get anything back from you guys. But I want to tell that story because it's another example of how the MSU board, how they kind of handle things with the families, and how you guys have handled things with the families. All she's trying to do is help us heal. That's it. So she had to go get sent on a mental evaluation to see if she was mentally fit to do her job, because she wanted to help the Mears heal. And speaking of how the school treats us families, as Laura Zoni and Todd Barless, you know, I'm going to tell you that we were frickin' tough on them. We don't trust the school, right? So when they came in and started working with us, we were tough on them. Were we not? Okay? Because we didn't trust them. But they were patient with us, and they worked with us, and they were understanding on the anger and the rage that we have. And Laura never wavered. Like, Laura was amazing. It was unbelievable. She was there at every, I hate to use the word milestone, but as we've kind of worked through this, and you know, these moments where there's triggering events, she's been there for us the whole time. And you know, I hear that this is about money, the money running out, but I would have figured if you guys would have learned anything from this tragedy, is all this stuff you're putting in place is all reactive. We had kids that took a bullet for it, right? So start thinking proactive here. And is there a way, knowing that this grant is coming up, is there a way to keep her on board? Because she's all we got. We don't have you guys. We don't. That's all we got was Laura. So a little bit of proactive thinking to try to keep her on board and figure out a way to do that would have been pretty awesome. But you don't care about us. Your actions have showed that. So I want to give you some food for thought here on kind of how this whole thing has been handled. And it's about money, right? This is why it's being handled this way, because it's about money. That's all this is about, is money, okay? This has never been about money for the Mears. Look at the timeline when we filed our lawsuit. I'll tell you a quick little story on that, quick one. The guy who helped us with Tate's funeral came to us, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 days after the shooting. He asked us if we watched any coverage, and Sherry and I were like, not 1 second. He's like, well, I think you should educate yourself. And he kind of told us the 30,000-foot view that was on the news, that the shooter was in the counseling office, and, you know, whatever, right? So I'm like, you know, that's not how we roll. We're problem solvers, we're not finger pointers. I said, we've been loyal to Oxford Schools. They'll be loyal to us. And if they did something wrong, they'll own it. It's exactly what we said to them. And he looked me right in the eye and he said, no, they won't. So I said, all right, well, we'll see, we'll wait. So what, we file our lawsuit the end of January, right around there? Because the school didn't come out and our government didn't come out, and he was right. So that's why we filed a lawsuit. We weren't gonna file one, but you forced us to file one. So the last thing I wanna touch on here is you guys have heard me talk about this, it's been a whole systemic failure, okay? And what I mean by systemic, I'm not talking just the school here, but since you guys won't stand up like the MSU board did, and you're being a puppet to an insurance attorney, the whole system needs to be evaluated, from the purchase of the gun to when he was apprehended. And let me give you a couple things to think about. So, but the system is never, the whole systemic failure is never going to be addressed because you guys aren't letting it happen. You guys aren't letting it happen. You have the power to do this. Look what the MSU board did. You have the power to do this, and you're choosing to not do it. So let's just talk about a couple of things here. The purchase of the gun. I'm a pro 2A guy. I'm a hunter. I got a whole safe full of guns, okay? Probably more than I need, but I love guns, okay? We should be able to, the system should be able to talk to the place where he purchased it and just ask questions. Not point the finger at him, but ask questions. Just ask questions. Did you see anything that looked kind of crazy, a little different? What can is there anything that they could get from the purchase of the gun that we can implement into the purchase of the gun? But we're not going to look at that, right? Second thing is the mandatory reporting with the teacher to CPS. Now, from what I hear, I have a ton of teacher friends, and by the way, many of these teacher friends have been really frank with me about this and talked to me about it. And I'm not going to say any names, but the whole reason why the teacher didn't report to CPS is they don't trust the system, which is what? A government system, right? So why can't we ask that question, and why can't we talk about it, and why can't we fix that? So that's something that will never be addressed because we're dealing with the immunity thing, right? Now let's talk about, and this is a big one, I think. So you have a counselor, Hopkins, that didn't recognize a kid that was at the top of a mountain in crisis. Now, we're focused on threat assessment, which that should have been implemented, obviously, okay? But let's think about this a little bit deeper. And this is where we need to start asking some really tough questions. Some really tough questions. So, he had a master's degree in counseling. Think about this for a second. He had a master's degree in counseling, and he can't recognize a kid that's at the top of the mountain in crisis. The kid had a frickin' gun in his hand, basically, right? So we have a counselor with a master's degree, educated in our education system, that can't recognize a kid at the top of the mountain of crisis. That should be talked about. So let's say Oxford Community Schools didn't do their job and have threat assessment in. If he had some knowledge of crisis that he was taught in his 8 years of education, it's crazy to me how a person can graduate with a master's degree in counseling and not be able to recognize a kid in crisis. So we should look at our education system. We shouldn't just look at the threat assessment thing. Sure, that's something we need in place. But we should also be working on our education system. But we can't because you guys aren't letting it happen. One more thing I want to add to that. So in the shooter's journal, he wrote that he was hoping to go to the counseling office and he would spill the beans. And then he went to the counseling office. And the counselor got duped. The dean of students got duped. You know, it's crazy to me. So I don't understand. I don't understand how this can even happen, man. It's freaking crazy. So, you know, another thing that we need to take a look at, like after the shooting, you know, the EMS response times. And here comes the EMS people, all the first responders, immediately they want to get the guard up. And I'm not pointing fingers at them. But why can't we ask questions? Why did EMS never get to Tate? It would have been very important for us as a family to have our final goodbyes, if they could have kept Tate alive, to have our final goodbyes with him. That would have been important to us. I think it would have been important to the St. Julianas to have Hannah not bleed out and live. She bled out. I think it would be very important to the Schillings. We all know what happened there, right? So what happened? What happened in the response times? Was there, you know, Lapeer got there before Oxford. Like, what happened? Why can't we talk about this? Why can't we make this better? Because you guys aren't letting it. We have to get better. The Inform and the Inform and Alice. There's nobody on it. There was nobody on it. There's nobody on the cameras with eyes on the shooter. Because if there was, that's what the Inform is. Because if there was, Potts, maybe she wouldn't even have went to that bathroom if they knew he was in there. But if she did know, does she go in there and deal with it, right? So the Inform was, so we're not talking about any of this because everybody wants to hide behind immunity. Another thing that we could think about, when you want to think about after the shooting, is the insurance company is pulling the strings here, and you guys are letting that happen, okay? But in my little private industry, we are accountable, and I'll use ISO 9000, the quality system. We have to be ISO certified, and we get audited all the time for that. I think it's twice a year. I'm not 100% sure. It might be once a year. I'm not the quality guy, but I know we get audited for it. And if we don't pass, we get our certification pulled, and we don't get to do business with the big boys. So, let me compare that to the insurance company. So the insurance company, who's in cahoots with our government, right? This is how it works. They don't hold Oxford to a standard, in this particular instance, in safety. So they don't hold Oxford to a standard. Why? Well, they don't have to because they have immunity, right? The whole thing. So if they hold Oxford to a standard, and if Oxford doesn't have all their threat assessment in place, well, I mean, there's a couple things you can do with that. You can up their insurance to where it's not affordable, and that forces them to get their threat assessment in. Or can you pass some kind of legislation that if you're not up to par, kids don't report to school. Then they'll get their job done, right? Because then you guys are losing money if kids aren't reporting to school. So these are things that need to be driven by this tragedy, and you guys aren't letting it happen. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with, we've had a school shooting in Oxford. 4 kids are murdered, 6 are shot, whole school terrorized, and we have a government in silence in a whole education industry in silence. Think about that. Not one person in the education industry has stood up. Not one. Not one. Not one group, not one person. And this education industry says they're about the kids. This education industry is full of political pawns for our government. Prove me wrong.
Thank you. Moving into the next agenda item is scheduled activities. They're listed. No school on January 15th. Our next conversations over coffee is January 18th at Clear Lake Elementary, and a board meeting on January 23rd. Any administrative clarifications, Dr. Markovich?
None.
All right, next item on the agenda would be a recommendation for action for going into our closed session, if I can get a motion. Heather?
Move to meet in closed session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, Section 8E, to consult with its attorney regarding trial or settlement strategies in connection with specific pending litigation. Case numbers 231492, 231484, 231490, 231483, 231563, 231493, 231560, 231489, 231565, 231491, 231564, 231487, 231561, 231496, 366192, and 365425.
Judge support? Mary? Roll call vote? James?
Mike Whitney, Colleen Schultz,
Yes.
Amanda McDonough,
Yes.
James Summers, yes. Mary Hanser,
Yes.
Aaron Reese,
Yes.
Heather Schaefer.
Yes. All right, welcome back from closed session. It is 10:49 PM. Going on to the next agenda item, we have final board comments. If there are none, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.